Alright, this is the new OnePlus 12. And on paper, the OnePlus 12 ticks all the right boxes. Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, 12GB RAM, double check, 50-watt wireless charging, triple check, 4500 nits of brightness, like what is this phone, a mini son? And OnePlus had bold claims like, oh my god, comparison with iPhone and Samsung. Well, I used the OnePlus 12 for about 15 days now. We waited for the first update to arrive and I must say, things are very interesting. Now, performance is something that has been key with OnePlus. But before we get to that, the unboxing experience may seem the same as always. Phone, paperwork, charger and all of that in the box. But there is a unique thing this time around. See over here? OnePlus has added a thank you message for the community members and along with the social media handles. I can see a few Indian names here and there. Good to see that a brand is giving recognition to the community. +1 for OnePlus. It's cool now, you can tell people that you have a name on the OnePlus 12 box. Now, to keep things simple, I'll tell you my experience with the phone day-wise. Like today is day 1 and the first thing I noticed is the design. The phone looks like any other OnePlus phone. They are sticking to similar design pattern this year. Like you get this camera module, it has a protective glass layer over it. So if you need to clean, all you have to do is this. No need to clean individual lenses, corner and all of that. Plus you have this trusty alert slider. Now there are subtle changes, like this time the punch hole is at the center. Previously it was on the left. I like this. It makes the phone appear more symmetrical. Another newly added feature is Aqua Touch. Now the phone is IP68 water resistant, so you can dip it in water. But now even if the phone has water droplets on the screen, you can still use it to enter the pin and everything. See, if I do it with some another device, see, it doesn't work. But if you use a third-party scratch guard, does it still work? Let's try that out. It doesn't work. Okay, so day 3 and let's talk about performance. That is the major talking point of this phone. It uses the latest flagship processor of 2024, Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, and the base variant itself starts from 12GB RAM, 256GB storage. We have the 16GB RAM version, so of course, there is no lag or anything like browsing the web, watching videos, taking calls and all of that is flawless, which is quite expected from a flagship phone. Now this is running on Oxygen OS 14 and OnePlus has implemented something called the Trinity engine. Like you get all these 6 features, CPU, ROM, RAM, Vitalization, Hyper Boost, Hyper Rendering, Hyper Touch, some 6 of them. Now names aside, one use case that I saw is RAM Vitalization, which I believe was a problem with Oxygen OS. Apps used to reload in RAM. But now, see, it locks your most used apps in RAM. Like see here, it's Gmail for me. I'll open an email and now if I open 5 to 6 other apps and then again if I go back to Gmail, see that particular email is still open. So this way, Oxygen OS tries to keep your most important apps in the RAM for about 72 hours, which is 3 days at least. Now another thing that they advertised was CPU vitalization, like the CPU will prioritize task and save battery. And I so wanted to try this because in the launch event, OnePlus compared video recording battery drain to other flagship phones. And of course, OnePlus was winning. That's why it was there. So we replicated the same test and we put the same set of phones, iPhone 15 Pro Max and S24 Ultra because that's the latest. And 4K video recording is very important. What if you go to a function, record videos for half an hour and your phone starts to heat up or the battery straight up dies? So after 1 hour of 4K 30fps recording, now if you see OnePlus has the least battery drain, it is still at 83% whereas the iPhone is at 79 and Samsung is at 80%. But you also have to consider that OnePlus has the biggest battery amongst the 3, 5400 mAh. So technically the OnePlus claim does hold true in real life. Now how does all of this actually impact performance? Well, on AnTuTu, it scored above 20 lakh, that is flagship level performance. And we even ran 3D Mark Solar Bay test. This tests the GPU of the smartphone and here too the scores were pretty good. However, I must mention one thing. We ran the CPU throttle test which runs the CPU at 100% for 15 minutes. This is stressful. And if you see, the graph for the most part is green but at the end it fell slightly. Now the strange part is, the phone didn't feel at all warm. Maybe the app is getting old. Also, there is the 9140mm square vapor cooling chamber. This is probably the largest in any phone as of now. But again, you'll be like, those are just numbers, benchmarks. What about real world usage or gaming? Well, I discovered that you get a lot of gaming features. Like if I swipe down, there is this menu and here you get quite a lot of options like screen recording, haptics, GPU settings, etc. But there's this option called hyper resolution. And if you see in old games like Subway Surfer, before and after to the eye, the graphics now look a bit cleaner, like the fuzziness around the character's leg is reduced. Also, if you're playing games like COD and all where FPS matters, there's something called Adaptive Frame Booster. If you turn that on, see the frame rate goes to 120 FPS. So what this is doing is, it is using the same frame interpolation technique which makes the game feel much smoother. But Of course, all of this doesn't make me a better gamer, I still die. Also, you get a 6.82-inch 120Hz 2K AMOLED display here. Now, I don't know if you have this habit or not, but I have to see some video or movie when I'm having my dinner, and I must say the quality of the display is very good. Like this particular scene, it looks so vivid. Now, the biggest talking point with the display is brightness level. OnePlus says it goes to a 4500 nits of peak brightness. Now, the phone feels quite bright indoors while watching movies. Even if you see side by side with the iPhone 15 Pro Max, it's equally bright. Now, I went back and checked on OnePlus website. They say it's 1600 nits high brightness mode in outdoor conditions and all of that. So 4500 nits only reaches in specific scenarios under HDR videos. Another thing which was very less advertised is this is an LTPO 3.0 panel. Like if you're doing nothing, the refresh rate is 1 Hz. If you use apps like calculator and all, it goes to 60 Hz, and if you play games, it goes to 120 Hz. This should save battery life. Also, if any game still opens at 60 Hz, you get the option to force an individual app to always run to 120 Hz. This feature wasn't present in the previous OxygenOS versions, but you get it now.
Now, one of the major talking points of the phone is the camera, because they have upgraded the hardware quite a lot. So you get a 50 megapixel main camera, 48 megapixel ultra wide angle camera, and a 64 megapixel 3x periscope zoom camera.
Even in portrait mode, I would say the phone is doing much better than last year's OnePlus 11. Like the skin tone is nice. Even the background blur and cutout is good. Finally, OnePlus camera improvements, and that whole partnership is paying off. And we even took a few shots against the sun. Here also the HDR is decent. Once in a while, it kind of gets the contrast a bit high like this photo of Dinesh, but that happened only once in 15-20 days. Now, if I talk about zoom, OnePlus 12 has a freaking 120x zoom. God knows why would someone need that much, but at 30x or so, the pictures are decent and useful. And even nighttime, the pictures are actually nice. Like this ultra wide angle and 30x zoom, see the building still looks good. Speaking of ultra wide, the photos are decent, no complaints here. Like this ultra wide angle shot inside the auto, you can just apply a black and white filter here and it looks so artsy.
Now you can also shoot 8K videos on this, but mostly you will be shooting in 4K 30 FPS, and this is how the video and audio quality is.
So overall, I would say the camera this year has improved quite a lot, especially human skin tone, which has been a problem for such a long time with OnePlus, is now mostly solved. Now, before you get to the conclusion, there are a few things. The OnePlus 12 comes with Android 14 right out of the box, and OnePlus usually gives 4 years of Android updates with 5 years of security patches, which I know is not as big as a number as Google or Samsung's 7 years. But nonetheless, 4 years is good enough for most people. It still comes with no ads or no bloatware. Only Netflix came pre-installed, and I use that, so it's a useful app then, I guess. Second, the haptics are one of the best in a phone. Like, I'll try my best to explain this with an example. So in other phones, if you move the brightness slider, there is a haptic response. But here, there is difference in the intensity of haptic. Like if I increase the brightness, the vibration also goes from 0 to 100 and vice versa. I found this very cool while using the phone. Now, so far, I see OnePlus 12 now as a solid middle ground where you want flagship features but don't want to spend 1 lakh rupees. Like build and display is good, performance is great, camera is upgraded, battery is upgraded, software is very polished now. Now, all of this does come with a 10,000 price increase from last year. The OnePlus 12 starts at 64,999 and it's fair. Personally, I would have preferred if there was a cheaper 8/256GB version. It would have brought down the price a little bit, but let me know what you guys think. I really like the pricing of OnePlus 12R, so if you're looking something around 40,000, here's a good video to watch. On that note, this is signing off. See you in the next one.